Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Thursday, March 7th. LA Galaxy getting ready for a Sunday matchup against Nashville, who just finished their CONCACAF Champions Cup game against Miami. We'll probably talk a little bit about that. We're going to get you ready for Nashville. We're going to talk about the team news. We're talking about power rankings. We haven't got to talk about power rankings in like 5 years. All right, so this is new. This feels new. It feels a little strange. We're going to do that in just a little bit. We're going to be joined by Mr. K-Rock himself, Kevin Ryder. Fingers crossed on that one, make sure everything goes. But we're excited to have him on. A big Galaxy fan. Can't wait to talk about him. Talk to him about all that stuff, fun stuff. And to help us with all that, we're glad to have him back. It's Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. We're back.
We're back?
Are the Galaxy back? We're back. Me and you are back. It's all back. It's all happening. You know how long it's been since I've been on?
How long?
I forgot we had a new theme song. I was grooving. I was like, oh yeah, we have the new theme song. So good times.
I love it. Well, good. I'm glad. Yeah, we're here. We're ready. We're locked and loaded. It was too easy. I've been setting up the show a little bit differently with a little behind the scenes. I've been setting up the show differently. And usually what happens is whenever we start the show, whenever Eric calls me about 15 minutes before we start, I have to go and like put his camera in and put his audio in and do all this other stuff. And I've set up the show so I don't have to do that anymore. But then I don't do anything and I forget the parts that I was supposed to do because I was like, we're good.
It writes itself. The show writes itself at this point. Yeah. So it was kind of funny. I was like, I was already looped in. We didn't need to add any images or work it in. And then it's like, oh yeah, we forgot all those little tiny pieces that you need to go back in. But the chat's on fire already. So good times.
I don't know. Aaron, before we started and we're a little late, said that this was his least favorite podcast so far. Just because we hadn't started.
Because we hadn't started yet.
Yes, correct.
Well, speaking of our chat members, yes. I know you've already, gone over the home opener and all the fun that was in last week, but I haven't been on. So I just got to give a shout out to the live chatters that I met. I got to meet some listeners.
That's right.
As SPQR professor is in the chat right now. I got to see him in the corridor.
In the flesh, you were there.
In the flesh, in person there. Got to meet some Discord legends. And,
we didn't even
have some good conversation. So it was a fun time.
We didn't even get to talk about the fact that we got like major stink eye from like a Galaxy employee who had no idea who we were. Like that just nothing. Day. And there was like a line of people waiting to take pictures with us. And she was like, I haven't, like just as she was walking by, sort of like,
Why that guy? Why are people wanting to take pictures with that guy? The stink eye was incredible. Yeah. Especially when it's someone with an official LA Galaxy or MLS badge and they look at it, it's like, wait, who are you?
No.
So that was a good time.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, this Galaxy team, I don't know what to make of them yet. And I think we're only 2 games in. I don't think you should know what to make of them yet. But it feels different. It feels optimistic. I can't say, like, if you go back to 2009, Bruce Arena comes in the later half of 2008, 2009, the LA Galaxy end up at MLS Cup, don't win it, but end up at MLS Cup. That whole year was just sort of like, at least from what I remember of it, and it was a really fun year to sort of watch the progression of, but like, You always felt like, nah, this isn't their year. They're not. This isn't it yet. This isn't it. This is not where it's going to be, but this isn't it yet. And then they end up at MLS Cup. Then you have 2010 winning the Supporter Shield and getting knocked out of the playoffs, but in Dallas. And then 2011 Supporter Shield and MLS Cup. 2012 MLS Cup. 2013 nothing. 2014 MLS Cup. I mean, it's weird how these things sort of all go, but it feels like perhaps if you're talking about the roller coaster that is fandom here, Eric. The ups, the downs, the extreme lows, the extreme highs. It sort of feels like you're on the roller coaster and you're kind of coming up that hill right now, right? It's sort of like maybe they're going to be back. They're just starting to climb the hill. Don't know if that's going to happen, but you're starting to climb that hill a little bit. There's too much optimism almost. At this point,
and we don't see the track in front of us, so we don't know where exactly this is going. This can be the funnest ride of our life, or we can be in, for a wooden coaster where it's shaking us back and forth in our seat here. So that's kind of the exciting part where we're at right now, 2 games in. I think the conversation over these first few weeks of the season is that quote unquote, are the Galaxy back, just based on the eyeball test. We talk about the eyeball test all the time. We talked about it last season. The 13th place LA Galaxy, there were times they didn't look like a 13th place team, and it just didn't sit right. Watching this team in the first 2 games, the way they played against Miami, they dominated Miami, to be fair. Probably could have put away a couple more chances so that they didn't have a chance to get the red card call and then the injury time goal. They could have walked away with 3 points there. We saw them dismantle San Jose. They had shaky moments. There were still some fluky things, but I think if you watch any team around the league, they're going to have a shaky moment here or there. But overall, dominant performance against San Jose, and it passes the eyeball test. We're looking at it, it's like, man, this team, they look like they have the pieces. It looks like Joseph Paintsil is someone who he's playing. I've mentioned it, grown man soccer, grown man football. Like he just looks like a polished professional. And so when he's at the wheel, you feel like, you're going to be safe. And of course, with Ricky coming back and with, Dejan doing what he's supposed to be doing, it's like all the pieces are there. It's just a matter of making it all, successful and make it work out. And so last season, the eyeball test didn't quite match where the results were. And now it seems like the results are starting to match what our eyes are showing us. So again, a 3-1 win, I think that's a fair result from what our eyes showed us against San Jose. The performance against Miami, 1-1. You want to win your home opener. You want the 3 points at home. But at the same time, when you look at, the talent, we talked about it in the pregame, whenever you have a Luis Suarez, a Jordi Alba, a Busquets, a Lionel Messi, you're at the mercy of a moment of brilliance where it's going to work against you. So to be able to be in that game and to see what Miami did to Orlando this past weekend, it's like, okay, maybe a 1-1 performance is not bad considering all the talent they had on the field. So it's just, I understand wanting to pump the brakes and not wanting to crown the Galaxy after 2 games. But at the same time, I think you talk to a lot of people who are watching this team and you're right. It looks different. This doesn't look like a woe is me. Oh, the Galaxy are going to Galaxy their way into fumbling points again. And so it looks different, and that's how I think you're seeing a lot of hopeful people and the possibilities. With the parity in MLS, anything could happen.
And one of the things we were all watching, you were talking about Miami and all the fun stuff that's going on. One of the things we were watching is that Nashville, who the LA Galaxy will play on Sunday, we're playing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup as we speak. It basically just ended just before we came on the air with 7 minutes of stoppage time and all sorts of fun stuff. It was 2-1 going into those 7 minutes of stoppage time. That game ended 2-2. So Miami was able to come back.
I wasn't watching. Wow, that's awful because Nashville looked great. They were taking it to them. They
did for certain points of it for sure. You could see that that Nashville was really there, and you had Jacob Schaffelberg had 2 goals in this.
Yeah, a banger.
Yeah, Shaq Moore actually came in and scored a goal that was waved offside. Miami had a goal that was waved offside earlier as well. Whenever it was 2-1, Miami scored to make it 2-2, and it was waved offside. But always getting those extra minutes there, and probably maybe this time deserved, but 7 minutes again, it's Messi time.
7 minutes is a lot. I mean, and it's when it happens to the same team over and over again. That's where you start to raise the questions. You want to say the fix is in, but with the things, to be fair, I was setting up for the show. I wasn't watching the game, so I don't know how much injury time was truly deserved. But 7 minutes feels pretty excessive. Yeah, this isn't Qatar where they're counting the seconds and adding 10 minutes, 12 minutes of injury time. So it just seems a bit much. But I feel bad for Nashville because they were really taking it to it. I was hoping. We talk about don't peak too soon, that being my tagline. I was hoping Nashville would peak today. That way, they can be on the downswing come Sunday. We can catch them flying high after a win, maybe not take the Galaxy so seriously after they beat, big bad Miami. So maybe they'll be out for something to prove, but that might impact how they play on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we sort of look at and just, obviously short rest. I thought Miami on short rest was again showing sort of signs that they weren't there, but Nashville showing a lot of signs that they were up for this game, and this was the important game for them. Hani Mukhtar actually came and played in this game, so he was back, and that's one of the guys who they're sort of been watching as they go. They were missing Mukhtar, who's their designated player. They have Sam Surridge as well, who's their designated player. We'll talk about all that here in a little bit, but just watching that, you were hoping that the focus for Nashville would be that game, and it seems, if you were watching that was the case. Now, they had only scored 1 goal in each of their first 2 games, so you were hoping maybe, the last thing you wanted them to do was get going. And I wouldn't say they got one person got going, Schaffelberg definitely got going, but I don't know that everybody else got going enough. Although there was some nice interchange, some good plays from Nashville. Nashville's a tough team. We'll talk about it here as we wrap up towards the end, but it's a tough team for sure.
Yeah, so. I don't know if Barcelona is going to be calling for Schaffelberg, for the summer transfer window.
Probably
that
not.
Might be something that after that performance.
Can they have a Jacob Schaffelberg? It almost seems like that's not allowed, right?
It's too perfect.
Oh, okay. No. But no, definitely one of those fun things to sort of pay attention to, and it's fun to see that you're getting all these teams playing these midweek games as well. The Galaxy have a chance, if they allow it and if they can sort of play it through, is not to have midweek games until basically they hit May. Right. And so there's a chance still for the Galaxy to sort of be like, okay, we don't have too many midweek games. We're able to train. We're able to get established. We're able to sort of come into these things. We're ready to go. Right. And so it feels like the advantage that you wanted the Galaxy to have, which was to go out and establish themselves early because they needed that confidence boost. Right. Certainly. And quite honestly, to settle down any talk about Greg Vandy going anywhere as well, you sort of want to be like, let's make this not an issue. Let's go out and play. So it's been interesting to watch those different things. Let me get to some of the things that are coming up, because I want to make sure that we get talk for all of this, with the LA Galaxy announcing that they have a watch party coming up, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The kickoff is at 12 p.m. for this Nashville LA Galaxy game. Kickoff actually probably 12:10 is what we imagine it's going to be. So 12:10 will that be that kickoff time. It's Cosmo, the Star Squad, drink specials, prize drawings at Hennessy's Tavern, 8 Pier Avenue in Hermosa Beach, right? So Hennessy's in Hermosa Beach. That is where the main watch party will be for the LA Galaxy. That's one, but as always, dueling watch parties and everywhere else. You also have 1-2 Threads that was sort of hosting excuse me, I should say Absolution Brewing Company is hosting. 1-2 Threads is going to be there, but basically they're doing a G's photo gallery as well. So, Grainy Mayo, Baby G's 96, LA Galaxy on film, Luis Vela art. Of course, we all know Luis Vela art on all those wonderful things that we have, all of our stuff. Oscar Rodriguez, Alyssa Diaz, pop-up shop is, like I said, 1-2 Threads is going to be there. So this one at Absolution Brewing Company in Torrance. So another chance for you to go out and meet some G's and have some fun there as well. So I don't think you can go wrong either way. But it's nice to go out and support fellow G's, what they're doing. The photography thing should be really interesting and really fun to sort of see. So I would be out there for that for sure. Yeah.
And if you're not already following the exhibitors that are listed there, the amount of talent that, Galaxy fans have that are out there, and you're really seeing it rewarded because they're getting, field access and, getting great shots during the game of the players, of the crowd, of the supporter groups. It's really incredible, the stuff that they're doing. I even had a little disposable camera during the home opener. I'm curious to see. I don't know if that's a project that, I think there were some collaborations going on that they're working on. So there's just tons of talent in this Galaxy fan universe out there. So if you want to support that, you have that option. Also, 1-2 Threads, it's your chance to get the LA Anorak jacket. I believe they'll have some of those available. We've been pumping it up the last couple of weeks. So if you want to get some of that 1-2 Threads merch, you're good to go. And then, of course, if the Galaxy are hosting, Cosmo will probably be there. There'll be, like you said, drink specials. Whenever it's a team kind of sponsored function, that adds a little extra fun to it. And so I think that's cool that they're setting that up. Hermosa Beach, you can do a lot worse than that. I know it's been raining over in those parts, so we'll see if the weather cooperates. But again, in terms of location, watch party, I think that's a cool thing that they have setting up. So again, like you said, dueling watch parties, you can't go wrong.
Absolutely. No, you can see that. SPQR professor also says newly announced Galaxy Bar partner in Irvine this season, Left Coast Brewing. So they'll have stuff out there as well. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, there's always bars that you can go, and I would suggest that you do that. It's a great way to meet other Galaxy fans. It's a great way to sort of like be part of that community. And it's a fun way to watch the game. You know, if you just want to yell at the computer yourself, you can do that. You know, that's absolutely yell at the computer, yell at your TV, do a lot of fun stuff. You absolutely can do all of that. But sometimes it's better if you have friends who will help you yell at the TV and yell at the referee. And
you're mad too. I'm mad. Let's be mad together. It's so much better when you have that. Yeah, mutual hates. I think that's the thing.
That is a lot of fun. Let's go to Ronnie, $5 super chat. Love having this podcast to look forward to. Was wondering if you guys have a Galaxy best 11 of MLS Cup winning Gs. Thanks for all the Galaxy content. So MLS Cup winning.
That's very specific.
Gs,
I like it.
Right. So. Let's see. I mean, okay.
The names that jump out are the forwards. I think Carlos Ruiz has to be on there, and I think Robbie Keane has to be out there.
Robbie Keane,
go at least 2 forwards.
David Beckham, Landon Donovan. I think that's easy. Mike McGee is going to be in there.
Mike McGee is in there.
Okay. You're probably going to want. It's hard because you're going to start.
You want Omar and AJ in there.
You want Omar and AJ. You probably want Todd Donovan back there, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then Sean Franklin on the right hand side or Robbie Rogers.
Because the MLS, I kind of like Chris Albright. That feels like you need some of the old guard in there.
I understand.
So he's the one I'd throw in there.
I understand there. Kevin Hartman for goalkeeper. Yeah, I mean, you're missing like a Juninho or a Sarvis. Really, they
might be the odd man out.
Right? I know. It feels
this is where we get to have creative freedom to meld them.
Yeah.
And this is where you make a super midfielder.
June Sarvis.
June Sarvis, yeah.
Right.
Marninho.
Marninho, yes, sir.
And so I think we have the creative liberty to do that just because they're forever going to be linked together as a pair. So why not? Let's just meld them together. That way no one's left out.
I'll tell you the first guy off the bench, though, Christian Wilhelmsen. Absolutely, 100% every time. No. Give me my Christian Wilhelmsen. Reason they won a cup.
It's Giassi's artist.
Okay.
He's my MLS Cup winner off the bench, first choice.
Adam Chrisman. Chad Barrett injures his ankle. Adam Chrisman steps up, wins himself an MLS Cup.
The lights being brightest and not folding under the pressure there.
David, $5 super chat. Will Galaxy fans be singing "We Are the Champions" by Queen at the end of the season? No. I mean, it's very simple to play these games, right? Somebody was saying, and we were talking about the Galaxy being back. I was having a discussion on Twitter about that very thing, and they're like, the only way the Galaxy are back is if they're lifting a trophy. I'm like, 28 other teams are trying to lift that trophy. The Galaxy need to be in a position of consideration for those trophies, and I'll say they're back because the landscape of what has changed, really in the last 5-6 years is so many teams. Everything's really there. It's extremely difficult to win MLS Cup. You need a little bit of luck. You need a lot of good soccer to be played over a long period of time. The way the schedule is set up now, you need a lot of good soccer at the beginning of the year, and then you got to survive yourself through Leagues Cup and everything else that is going on. And in order to survive and make it to the playoffs, that's best of 3 to start with, which is ridiculous. And then you go into like single elimination games after it. It's just there's too many wild, weird things. So will they be singing it? Unlikely. Having said that, they need to be in the conversation like they are right now. One of the things MLS was touting was their rankings. Now, I should point out, ESPN has decided that nobody's going to go anywhere for like a couple weeks. You could see just by the way that they're doing it, right? They're like,
they're going with their preseason. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, this is the preseason. We're not going to move for a couple weeks until we see what's actually happening here. Because if it was true power rankings, right, the Galaxy are at least, I guess, in a discussion of, near the top because they have been one of the better teams in the first 2 games. That's fine. Mm-hmm. If that's something that you want to do. So it's difficult to sort of say the Galaxy don't belong in any power rankings that you put out there. But the Galaxy right now in the power rankings are 4th. Now, I find it interesting that they're behind Miami, who they thoroughly dominated and ended up 1-1. It was sort of like, well, by transitive properties, you at least have to put them next to each other. And how do you separate them, right? And Cincinnati just sort of stays where it's at, and it's not going anywhere. LAFC actually drops down for the Galaxy going up, right? So you're looking at that. Philadelphia, Seattle dropping down, Philadelphia moving up, Atlanta, New York, Minnesota. So top 10 right now, Galaxy are 4th in the league. I can make a lot of arguments, Eric, that say this is absolute BS. 1, because of power rankings. And 2, is it feels too early. And if you're going to do power rankings, I guess you have to at least start it sometime. You can't start it halfway through the season, right? But this just, there's not enough there for me yet. I'm sorry, scarred for the last 5, 6, 7 years. It's like, I've seen them start better than this, quite honestly.
Yes,
and
correct.
And so what have we seen? But having said that, the way they started, and they started better than this, and you're like, yes, they're good. This team feels different than that too. So I can understand. I can sort of, the feeling is different. It feels different.
You ready for me to zag in the other direction?
Yeah, go for it.
I think they got it right, because you want to differentiate this from the Supporters Shield. If you just wanted to say, what are the power rankings, you can go to the Supporters Shield rankings and you see Miami's at the top there, partly because they've played 3 games. They're sitting on 7 points. And then you have a lot of teams bunched up who have 4 points. So the interesting thing is, through 2 games, there were no teams that had 6 points, with the exception of Miami, who played 3 games because they had 2 wins and a draw. So I think it's all, you can argue all over it. And I think when it goes week to week, if you're not using the Supporters Shield standings as the basis of it, you can say, look at what Miami just did. So they're going to leap the Galaxy wherever they are, because it wasn't as dominant a performance. Columbus, the performance that they had, you take into account that. And so I kind of feel like the Galaxy landing at 4 is about right. I feel like that's the right place for them to land, watching LAFC drop to where they did because of their performance, regardless of your thoughts on what a snowy field, how that impacts the game. But I think that's something where they got it right in the beginning. We'll see how this works out over the course of the season. I feel like once they lock into these positions, the funny thing, and we'll see how it reacts, if the Galaxy go on a skid, you have to drop them way to like 14th or 15th, because it's so early in the season, there's so much movement that can happen. But what we've seen MLS do in the past is, if they lock a team early in the beginning, you see kind of what they're doing with Cincinnati. Well, how their past performance and the roster that they have, we're going to leave them at the top until a lot of results really start to add up to move them. But I think it should be super fluid, because power rankings, in my opinion, is right now, who do you want to play right now? Who's the hottest team? And I think that's where you need to judge it. It's not necessarily standings based. And I feel like right now, Columbus is probably one of the toughest teams. You don't want to play them.
Right.
Miami, we've experienced what happens there. Nashville experienced what happens when you play Miami. So I think Miami is fair, as much as we want to hem and haw and argue about the age of those players and all those different things. I think you have to give the credit where credit is due. They manage to get it done all the time. So I think you can't be upset with the power rankings this early in the season.
You also should never get upset at power rankings, because
period.
They're used. I mean,
we need something to yell about. We were just talking about the watch parties. You want to be mad? I want to be mad. We need to be mad together. That's part of the community.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line, power rankings are bad, and one of the major reasons they're bad is because any criteria you can come up with is going to be subjective. Otherwise, you would call them standings, right? It's like
right. That's why you need to have some type of different metric to shake it up.
But my whole problem is, and for power rankings, it's not about who's the most difficult to play against. It's who the most difficult to play against today. Right
now.
And
yes.
right now. And it always drives me crazy that at the end of the season, you don't have some team like Sporting Kansas City who's going to stream it into the bottom of the playoff spot, but they're like, they've won 9 out of their last 10. It's like, that's the hottest team. You don't want to play them. Everybody knows it. And they should be number 1. So stop putting other teams number 1 if we're actually doing power rankings. But everybody sort of has, again, their own different way of doing that. Yeah,
I'm going to go back to what someone mentioned about, are the LA Galaxy going to be, singing "We Are the Champions" at the end of the season? And I think we saw what happened with the tough start to the season last season, and the struggle of climbing out of 13th place, and the playoff picture being within reach, and then out of reach, and then there's a little bit of hope. Do we worry about 2024? Do we put all our eggs in that basket? What the Galaxy can do is put themselves in a good position early in the season, so they can shoot for that home playoff game. Shoot to where, if they do in that first best of 3 series, if they can't get a bye, that they're at least playing someone who's struggled late in the season or struggled throughout the season. So there's a lot of flaws in their game, so they could look to play a team in that 3-game series that hopefully they can exploit. I think that's what they can do right now. So while it happens all the time, the season can't be won in the first 5 to 10 games, but it could definitely be lost and made a lot more difficult in those first 5 to 10 games. So I think that putting those results together now is definitely something that could put them in the position. We'll see what happens, because you're right. So much luck. There's all these different things that are involved down the line. Injuries, getting hot, peaking at the right time, all that fun, all those pieces there, but you can put yourself in the position, hey, we had a top 3 spot and we had home field advantage. And if you don't get it done and something else happened, then those are the breaks at how it works. But let's at least put ourselves in that position. And I think that's something that the Galaxy fans have something to look forward to.
Well, I also think you have to establish yourself, right? You have to establish yourself in that conversation, which is you have to be there day in, day out. You have to be a team that people don't want to play. And right now, maybe that's the case. I'm also very curious, and watching the first 2 games, is how much does tape start helping, right? How much does tape start, like whenever you go to looking at Joseph Paintsill, how much can teams adjust to that? Now, I am of the opinion right now that Mark Delgado's playing out of his mind, and he's been opening up a lot of space for Joseph Paintsill. He's been outstanding. I think Ricky Puig has been really good. I know people are always critical. People complain about Ricky Puig trying passes that they think he shouldn't be trying, but my whole thing is you can't take Ricky out of Ricky. Like, that's what he does. So he's going to lose the ball sometimes. He's going to try to dribble guys and lose the ball. That's going to happen because 90% of the time he's going to dribble somebody and take them and win that. So you play the odds.
Yeah. He's also going to hit some dimes that are going to make you say, wow, who look at the vision that went into that pass. And so we saw that. We've seen that with Ricky over the course of it. You make a great point about tape being an issue. We saw it with Ricky's, he came in the last 10 games of a season a couple years ago, and he was a revelation. We were saying this guy's in the MVP conversation. He's going to take the league by storm. And then the next season, he had their struggles. People, figured out that you could do a hacker Ricky. If you just put all your players around him, then you can isolate him and shut down the Galaxy. And so I think that is something to be concerned about with Joseph Paintsill kind of looking like a men amongst boys right now. Our team's going to start to figure out, Vanny ball or the way Paintsill's putting it together and how he's working with Delgado. Are they going to start to figure that out in game plan? And midway through the season, is that something that they'll have to overcome and readjust? That's something that we'll still, again, 2 games into the season, who knows where this is going to go, or they can dominate. The possibilities are endless, but that is something that is in the back of my head as well. After watching them look so good, is are they going to look at these new pieces and start to figure out how to game plan against them? And
also, where do you when do you decide that the LA Galaxy are this, a good team again, right? When are the Galaxy going to struggle? That's what I'm waiting for right now. I think through the first 2 games, you didn't really see them struggle, right? They basically got to do what they wanted to do, and teams let them do what they wanted to do, and they weren't struggling. They scored first in both games, so they were from a winning position in both of those. What happens when you struggle? Because I can tell you, I watched teams in 2011 and 2012 and 2014, and when they would struggle or when they were bad, they would figure out a way to get points, right? They would figure out a way to get a draw out of something. They would figure out a way to snatch a win from the jaws of defeat. They would figure out ways to get points whenever they weren't playing their best or whenever the other team was playing really good. And it's like every once in a while you're going to run up against a team who's just flying, and you're like, they weren't like this the game before, and they aren't going to be like this the game after. But today, right now, they're one of the best teams in the league, and maybe we're not 100%. Maybe we're like 95%. And the difference right now is they have like a whole bunch more momentum. I want to see this team get through the adversity. Greg Vanny was talking about, and he went on a Sirius XM, but he was saying, you don't like to struggle, but when you struggle, you learn things, right? And you learn, and he goes, so this team is adept at adapting to the struggle, adapting and fighting through it. He also talked about, I thought it was really interesting, sort of saying that if you're not out here, he said trainings have been incredibly competitive. They've been super high in tempo, all those fun things, that you want to hear from a coach, quite honestly. And I'm not there, I can't tell you, right? Nobody really gets to see what happens at training. You get 10 minutes before anything really happens. Usually when people are like just kicking the ball around, that's whenever you get your 10 minutes. But if you're not there trying to make yourself better, then you're the outlier. Right? That's not what's going on there. Everybody's there trying to make themselves better. And it almost feels like the locker room that we've been talking about that has been fairly tight, that has had the leadership and all these things. We've sort of been like yes and no and maybe, and you're sort of trying to figure out exactly what you're getting from the locker room or exactly what you're getting. It feels like maybe right now that's meshing, that's finally coming to really be what you expect it to be as well. I remember 2012 teams, 2014 teams would have barbecues together, would go hang out together. Like they liked and enjoyed each other. Now you don't need that. It's not mandatory, but it seems to make for some really good results if you can have that and have a really good team at the same time. I think that doesn't make you a great team, but great teams have that. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, and I thought the Vanny quotes that came out from that interview
they said a lot with what they didn't say. I think those comments that he was making, if you're not here to make yourself better or to train hard, that feels like that was a veiled shot at some of the players that they had on the roster last season. I saw a lot of people maybe mention, Douglas Costa being, someone who maybe didn't give it 100% every time that he was on the field or on the practice field. And so when you talk about the comments that he's making and the differences he's seeing, I think it is fair to point out some of the maybe players who we from the outside looking in seem to have some issues with. And it seems like if he's making these comments, that almost confirms that the players that are in there now are some of those, I don't want to be too harsh, but some of that locker room poison is out of the building, or maybe whatever overhang there was outside of the club as well. With that gone, that it's a focus group, and that, I thought that was very interesting how he positioned his words, because it seemed like it was very specific with this group and who's not there this season as compared to last season.
Yeah. Again, 2 games in and everything's sort of filing in. I'll just let everybody know, we're supposed to have Kevin on. I haven't heard from him yet. So I just letting you know, like, if you want to go, tag him on Twitter or whatever, you're more than welcome to. But I did talk to him earlier today, so he was set up. So we'll see. Something can happen and it can come up.
I was going to say the Kings are playing. I know he's a Kings guy as well.
Yeah.
Team AEG, you got to keep everyone happy. So
right.
Maybe we're watching some good Kings hockey, and he'll get around to it on the period break.
Yeah, exactly. So if he calls in, we'll jump him on the podcast here as soon as we can, and if not, we'll have a good time without him as well. But I was really excited to have him on, so hopefully he'll give us a call.
Local legend.
And not just that, but you talk about people, and especially in Los Angeles, where sort of your allegiances can flip. I mean, pretty easily. In a busy sports town that has 2 teams for everything, and hey, you want to be a Lakers? I know people say this doesn't happen. All right, I know, I get it. We're talking to diehard fans here. They're never going to switch, right? I'm just telling you that in a land such as Southern California, where there are so many choices, allegiances flip all the time. All right, it happens. You can see it, and you watch it happen, and you watch people go back and forth and back and forth, and there's some people. Like my dad, it always drove me crazy. My dad is like the biggest neutral watcher ever. He's oh man, this is just such a good game between the Lakers and the Clippers. It's such a great game. This is awesome.
Go Los Angeles,
right? Yeah,
who wins?
Yeah,
Los Angeles fan.
Yeah, he's like and he's into sports, but he was always like the referee, right? So it makes sense to me that he's sort of just like arm's distance away from everything with the whole thing. But he always used to drive me crazy like that. There are people, and there are a lot of people who are just casual sort of sports fans. And if you say, hey, Eric, you want to go to a Clippers game? Sure, I'll go to a Clippers game. Oh, no, that sounds like a great time. Hey, you want to go to a Kings game? Yeah, I'll go to a Kings game. Hey, you want to go to a Ducks game? Yeah, I'll go. You want to go to a Dodgers game? Yeah, sure. Do you want to go to an Angels game? Yeah, great. The whole deal. Yeah. It doesn't matter in a lot of ways, right? And so, but seeing that and watching Kevin sort of be a
stay loyal
LA Galaxy fan for quite a long time, it was something we want to talk to him for sure. So anyway, we'll get to that if we can. If not, we'll reschedule him on for another time too. So no, just looking at this Galaxy team, it's just I want to see Peck get more involved in everything. Obviously, you're not going to see that this week. Peck away getting married. Yeah, apparently getting married. Yeah,
to Mr. and Mrs. Peck.
It was funny. I at least thought it was funny. Somebody on Reddit was like, I hope he got this approved through HR before he came in, to the league. Like, it was sort of like a joke, right? Like the whole deal. And I'm like, oh yeah, I go, don't worry. He had his. He
requested those days off in the interview. Yeah,
that was part of his signing documents. He was like, I get these days off. And he had to get it approved by his project manager and then the general manager. Yeah,
Diego Fagundes agreed to cover his shift. Yeah, that's he filled out the correct paperwork.
Yeah. But just watching that, I want to see Peck get more involved. Ultimately, though, what we're seeing from this LA Galaxy, Matt Doyle was talking about it, MLS analyst, talking about the LA Galaxy improving by like 30% in terms of what the quality of shot that they're giving up right now. So they got 30% better in terms of the shots through 2 games. Small sample size. We all get it. We have to keep saying it, though, because somebody will pull this clip from like a year later and be like, you said this. And it was like, yeah, from 2 games. I said that.
They were supposed to win it all.
They undefeated season, right?
Well, last time I was on, they were undefeated. Still undefeated. I'm going to knock on wood here.
So I want to see that. I want to see Pet get involved. I want to see just the Galaxy continue to build on this, because right now it feels like a lot of reliance on Joseph Paintsil, but at the same time, when you watch it, it's interchanged through him. It's not just him all by himself, it's interchanged through him. Dejan Joveljic, is that enough? Are we really happy with what we're seeing? Because I know, I see it. People get frustrated with him. You're like, he's not involved in the game. He's not involved in the game. You can't say, oh, wait, he scored a goal. That happened in 2 games now, where he has been MIA, just sort of floating off somewhere. And you're like, through the first 18 minutes of the game against San Jose, you were like, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. In the whole deal. And he ends up scoring a goal again. We said at the beginning of the year, Eric, we were very clear on it. Be an average striker, score 17 goals. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Just stay on side. That's the name of the game. And that's the beauty of being a forward as well, is if you're a defender, you make one mistake and it costs you the game-winning goal, and you get the ire of everyone watching the game because you cost us the game. The forward, conversely, could do nothing for 89 minutes, and then in that 90th minute, they're at the right place in the right time, and they become the hero. That's just the beauty of being a striker, and I think Dejan fits that bill. I loved hearing Sophie on last week when she was mentioning, let's get him off the field at halftime. We were done with him. Like, Galaxy need to do better. We need to find a serious striker. And then what happens? He's the one who bags the goal to make it work. Same thing happened here. I think the thing that impressed me more in the San Jose game was his assist, that run to the end line and cutting it back to where Ricky had basically a Dejan style finish, a tap in.
Just tap it in.
Then that to me was more impressive because he created. So if he's just in the right position, stays on side, does what he's supposed to do, it doesn't have to look great for 60 minutes. No. He has to look great for 20 minutes, and he has to be in the right place at the right time and get those goals. And so I don't think anyone is going to be upset with Dejan Joveljic if he taps in his way to a golden boot. I think you could say, well, where were the bangers? Where was the dribble? Where's the skills? Where's the techer? Hey, if he taps in 17 goals, I don't care. I don't care how that happens. I don't care if Joseph Paintsil is sending rocket shots off of Dejan's shoulder to get the ball to go in. I don't care. If he's making him go in, there's something to be said also. Chicharito was great at this, about being in the right position to get there. I think it's easy to look at those goals that Dejan scored and say, come on, you just have to tap it in. How hard can that be? I will remind you that we had Kevin Cabral on this team. We've seen how hard that can be. And so I think you have to give credit when someone has to know where to make that run, where to be in that right spot, where to pull the defender out. And so I think you have to give Dejan the credit. I'll speak the other side of my mouth and say, I agree. He hasn't looked fantastic. Nope. He hasn't looked like he can take players on 1-for-1 and score a banger, and just be this game-changing player. But he's done his job. Are we asking him to do his job? And is he doing his job? So I think you can't be upset with that. Maybe down the line, the bloom comes off the rose. But for right now, I don't think you can be upset with it.
Leads the LA Galaxy in goals after 2 games. Leads the LA Galaxy in goals plus assists after 2 games. Leads the LA Galaxy in goals per 90. Leads the LA Galaxy in goals and assists per 90 right now. I mean, the stats tell you that he's all over it, right? It's just one of those things. You're going to have to pay attention to him and watch him. He has to get more integrated, Eric. Yeah. He has to.
Fair.
Right?
100%. But if he doesn't, if he does this, it's okay,
he doesn't,
right?
Yeah, he's fine.
But I do have a gripe. Speaking of stats, because we don't just throw the mics on. We do a little bit of prep to get ready. MLSsoccer.com, LAGalaxy.com. Update your stats.
What I was going to complain about this.
They've showed that they've had 1 game played. I mean, come on, let's get it together. Miami, for some reason, their stats show that they've played 3 games.
Big surprise.
But the Galaxy still only show 1 game played. To me, in our EAFC PlayStation League, shout out to Liga G96, there are steep penalties for not entering your stats on time. So if you're MLS, you're a professional sports league, there's no excuse not to get the stats in. So that's my little soapbox I'm going to stand in on today. So our referees are locked out, but I don't know that the statisticians were locked out as well. So come on, let's be a serious league. Let's get our stats up to this. Should be, I understand if you need a little delay, it's not instantaneous, but come on, with FOTMob having ratings and results basically instantly, your website should be able to have current stats of the players' numbers.
I'm gonna go at MLS hard on 2 reasons. One was that I was going to talk about the stats too. The fact that they can't get stats updated. I have no idea how that even happens. I don't understand.
There's also no uniformity between team they're hidden in different places. Some teams have it, some teams don't. Sometimes you have to go to the league. Sometimes you have to go to the team. It's a weird, it's a weird setup.
The other thing is MLS is acting like the CONCACAF Champions Cup isn't happening. I mean, if you go on their app and you pull up and you go to the scores, it won't tell you where to find it on television. It's like, nope, sorry. I guess we don't want you to go over to Fox and watch this for whatever reason. It's our league. We're paying attention to it. But you know what? If it's on a different channel, we're just not. I mean,
it's not for us.
I get you have a deal with Apple, all right? But Apple doesn't have the CONCACAF Champions Cup rights. So as a league, you still have to promote that. And I literally had to search for it in order to find it. It's not just underneath it where it should be. Yes. It should just say Fox 2, Fox FS2. And you're like, cool, great. I'll go over there and I'll find it. That type of thing. MLS is in real danger. Well, they're already looking like morons with the whole U.S. Open Cup thing. Like they don't care about stuff. And
the referees,
the referees.
The Apple TV deal. It's starting to add up.
I mean, it's like,
it always has.
Believe people whenever they tell you what they are, right? It's like one of those. And it has been. You're right. This isn't a surprise. But this is your league. You're supposed to be promoting it. It doesn't matter what television channel it's on. Make sure that people can find it. And yeah.
I was going to say, you see this, and I apologize for cutting you off, but you see this in other leagues who take themselves seriously, whether it's, NFL or MLB, they'll be showing a game on CBS and they'll say, the Chiefs play tomorrow on Fox, because what's more important, not their TV deal with CBS, the league, promoting the league and making sure that eyeballs are watching the games in their league. So conversely, it should happen the same way with MLS. Hey, these MLS teams are playing. We want to see them succeed. We want to see them shine. They're going to also be on FS2. It's available for free. Hey, buy that Apple subscription. Come back if you want to see them, because they're going to be playing more games throughout the season, and you'll have opportunities to watch them all year long. But hey, while they're on, go check them out while they're here. Watch them play. So I agree. There is something I go back and forth as a supporter of the league and a supporter of the Galaxy. My mission statement, I say it all the time, support local soccer. There's no reason why we shouldn't be supporting the teams that are here on our own soil, and then, fawning over teams in Spain and England like they're the second coming. It's I understand the quality is different. At the same time, if you want it to get there, you need to support what's around here. And I think there's a lot of MLS haters out there who want to hate on MLS for the sake of hating MLS. But also there are some things that the league does that puts themselves in a corner, and it makes it really difficult to defend them and stick up for them. And this is one of those things where, the Apple deal is a great thing, and we're maybe the wrong audience because we're digging hard into it, and we're going to buy the subscription because we're hardcore supporters and diehard fans. But I do understand the argument where people feel like they're putting themselves on this island with the amount they're charging for jerseys, with isolating themselves, not promoting the league, promoting one player over others. I understand where this can rub people the wrong way. So I don't know how we got on this anti-MLS rant. It's the website. It's the stats.
It's the website. It's the stats.
If the stats were updated, we wouldn't have done this.
As somebody who literally goes and hand input stats, the fact that they're not there and not ready is ridiculous. I imagine in 1996 they had stats updated faster than what this is, right? I mean, I've dumped the league website and I have to go to FBref, right? And you're like, okay, that's where I'll go. And then the
league website is basically obsolete at this.
It feels like it. So anyway, $10 super chat. Hello, gents. This year our D is shored up. There are multiple threats with Peck not even integrated yet, and defenses now have to guard Dayon. What could possibly go wrong? From Lasso's optimism. Optimism indeed.
I was going to say very optimistic there, although I feel like the what can go wrong has some forebodingness to it at the end there.
Yeah, it certainly does. So just looking at the LA Galaxy, and again, we talked about this on Monday, but the LA Galaxy and the unbeaten teams, the LA Galaxy are one of them. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, get a point from Nashville, come home, play St. Louis for 3 points, right? Get road wins are great. Road wins are great. Go for it. And by the way, if Nashville's going to roll over for you because they decided that they were going to throw in all their cards against Miami, and they used 5 subs in the game, we watched that a little bit, right? We saw that. Miami apparently had 70% possession in the first half, and Nashville got 1 goal out of that, right? So in the 4th or 5th minute from Schaffelberg. Comes in early in the second half, again, gets another goal from Schaffelberg, that type of thing. I'm not going to say they played well, because if you watch them, they were trying to take them to Miami and that type of thing, but you knew that they were letting Miami hang around too, right? Yeah. They tried. They tried.
They could have put the game away. Well, to be fair, the Galaxy had the same situation. They could have put Miami away a couple times and they didn't. I think to me the most interesting wrinkle isn't that they just played Miami, it's that they're also going to play Miami again next week for the second leg.
In between.
So I think
the Galaxy are in between that.
Yeah. So that's to me the most interesting wrinkle that it affects your sub patterns and who starts the game, because now that it's 2-2, you have to go away to Miami.
Yep.
You don't have a lead.
Nope.
So maybe that impacts, the players that you start, because that game is on the 13th, which I believe is a Wednesday. So again, that's another short turnaround with a game on Sunday and not a lot of days rest. So I think that the result today has a bigger impact than maybe we realize because of the second leg that's happening next week.
Yeah, but something to certainly watch. Also watching Hani Mukhtar comes back for this game, right? And that was one of their big ones. Like we said a little bit earlier in this, they have Sam Surridge, who's their designated player, who, listen, I mean, in 9 games played, had 2 goals in 2023. I'm not going to say that, he's a game changer, but he's their forward, right? Up to this now, Till Bunbury was one of their forwards who basically had scored their only goal, and that only goal came off a penalty kick. That being said,
in the 90th minute.
In the 90th minute against Colorado, right? And so we can sort of go back and look at all these different things. My whole thing is that with Nashville having to pay attention to Miami, there may be an opportunity for the Galaxy to go after this game, right?
Yeah.
And if that opportunity presents itself because you rested a full week, because you have the time and recovery after this, you get to do whatever you want. You get to go out there and play sort of free.
It's free soccer, yeah.
It's free soccer.
I like the way you said that. And it's interesting also, we haven't mentioned the little Galaxy cinematic game recaps that they've put out over the last 2 games. They're great. I don't know what they're filming that on. Okay, but it's so crisp. It looks so good.
Okay, let me give you some behind the scenes real quick, and then just put a note in it. Okay, we'll come right back. Whenever Messi was here, there was a documentary crew following Messi, right? Well, it was dueling with the LA Galaxy's documentary crew that has also been in this, right? So I don't know if everybody knew that the Galaxy had a documentary crew, but look at all the cameras that are all anywhere we go, even in the press conference or whenever we were at the event for the announcements of the 2 designated players with Pack and Paintsel, documentary crew following us around. So I imagine they're pulling from some of this stuff. So that's sort of this is not low budget. I'm talking, boom mics. They have cameras they're pulling around. There's usually at least 2 cameras. It's serious stuff that's going on. So there's a reason that I think you're getting sort of the cinematic view of what is going on. Not only that, I feel like Will Misselbrook sort of brought the whole, this is Hollywood, this is LA. Let's have, if you've noticed, everything is very movie, very cinema, very like movie poster type thing, right? They're doing that on purpose. They're playing to the idea that it can be cinematic. Sorry, go ahead. Continue. Yeah.
Well, going back, I'm going to button that up, and then I'll go to my point I was making to the Hollywood feel of it. The lead up at the home opener before the players come out and before they had almost like a little vignette where, the Dignity Sports Park was covered in moss. It was kind of dead, falling apart. The Hollywood sign was falling apart, and they were, the sirens were sounding, and they were kind of coming back to life and bringing life back into the Galaxy. So I think that's definitely something that goes with the theme and
Ghost Sash, right? Like you're reserving a spot. Like we're on our way back, but we haven't earned it yet. That's what I still think that's what that kit means. Go ahead.
And when we had Will on, he mentioned what he's doing is he's telling a story over the course of a season. So I think the storytelling element is definitely something that there's a through line, and you see it in these cinematic game reviews as well. But what my point being is where I was going at the beginning, the benefit that you have is you now just watch Nashville play. You know who the players are. You know what they play like. You just saw, their style. So you've had a week off. You played well, and you've got another 90 minutes under your belt with new players and new routines and figuring out each other and learning how to play to each other. You just watched the team play. Now you're going away with nothing to lose. You have another team who has a second leg overhanging later in the week. So you're right. There's so much freedom here, and they have the advantage of just scouting the team that they just saw play and having the success and what worked well in their first opening games. I think there's a lot of positivity. Again, you're right. Walk away out of there with a point. I think a lot of people are pretty happy, and you're still getting the LA Galaxy back conversation. but I think there's opportunity for more, which is crazy to say when you look at the talent that Nashville has and where we were talking about this Galaxy team last season. It's kind of crazy that we're now looking at away games as well. Let's not survive it. There's points to be had here. There's definitely the possibility.
If we look at the LA Galaxy schedule coming up for the rest of March, Nashville coming up at on Sunday. That's at 12 p.m. Again, we think it's 12:10 is the kickoff. They're not showing, again, MLS deciding that they want to shroud things in mystery despite telling everybody last year. 12:10 p.m. Hey, MLS, now that you finally realize that we're a podcast, which is totally an inside thing, and you guys won't get this, but MLS, now that you realize that we're a podcast that's been around for 16 seasons, closing in on 1,100 shows, how about you give us the kickoff times? Like, that would be nice if you want to, like, be helpful to us. So 12 p.m., Nashville and LA coming up on Sunday. All right. We'll have limited coverage on that game on Corner of the Galaxy. I should make it back in time, definitely, for the second half. First half might be a little spotty for some of the stuff I'm trying to get done on Sunday. LA Galaxy then home to St. Louis, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, March 16th. That's going to be a fun one. Back home again. Then away on the road to Sporting Kansas City, home to the Seattle Sounders to close out March. So still a busy March that got a little bit easier when you realized the Galaxy didn't suck so much, right? It was like one of those, you're like, this is going to be really tough. And then all of a sudden, oh, wait. They might be good. They might be, if they're okay.
If you're good, the schedule's not hard. Yeah, we say that all the time. When you're not good, the strength of schedule gets really difficult.
It's such a stupid thing, Eric.
It's so dumb. It's like
so
if
true.
You score more goals, you win.
Right.
Yeah.
But it changes the way you look at a schedule. And look at what we did. We all looked at the first 10 games. We're like, whoa, they're big guy. Whoa, they're big fella. Right, as my son would say, copying Bluey. Thanks, Bluey. Hey there, big fella, calm down. Right, just sit there for a second because you got 10. These are tough games going up, and then all of a sudden, as soon as they played Miami well, they're like, oh yeah, you can go to San Jose and beat San Jose. And there were a lot of people who were like, yep, they can go up there and win that game. Mm-hmm. Right, and now you're sitting there and you're like, well, you could go beat Nashville and Nashville. Which, by the way, very difficult to do. Nashville's a very good home team. Judas Park is a really good place for them, and I imagine it'll be packed whenever they go there this weekend. So difficult task all around when we look at it. But because the Galaxy started off in the first 2 games looking very good, you sit there and you can reassess those first 10 games. You're like, you know what? It's okay. The season isn't as hard when you are good. Everybody, just go ahead, write that down. That's your words of wisdom.
There we go. That's going right underneath the plaque of "Don't peak too soon." That's going there.
Eastern Conference with Miami still leading. DC, Columbus, Montreal, New York. Red Bulls over there. Cincinnati, Charlotte, Toronto, Philadelphia, Nashville in 10th. Don't let that fool you again. Western Conference, the LA Galaxy tied basically for first place. In second place right now underneath Portland, tied with 4 points with St. Louis, Salt Lake, Minnesota, and then 1 point above Dallas, LAFC. Kansas City has they're 2 points clear of. Ninth is Vancouver right now. Houston, Seattle, Austin, Colorado, San Jose. Look at that. Galaxy beats San Jose. San Jose's the very, very bottom. 2 losses. There
0 points.
0 points for San Jose. Love to see it. Supporter Shield. We'll only do the top 15, but the LA Galaxy sitting in 4th in that current position. So if you want power rankings right now, these ones are pretty accurate. Miami, Portland, DC, and LA. That doesn't suck. It actually makes a lot of sense.
Than the real ones, yeah.
So something to watch there. Are you ready to? We didn't even talk about this because we had so much time to not do anything that we didn't even talk about the show whenever we started. But do you have a dramatic game preview, or are we skipping?
You know what? I hate to do it.
Okay.
I hate to say no.
Okay, that's fine.
No, I don't.
No,
yeah. Remember, I thought we were going to spread these out.
Yeah, we
pick
are.
Our moments. Find the right games to do it.
The LA Galaxy will take on that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to do it either. Yeah, I tease.
I was going to say there could have been Nashville. Johnny Cash references. We could have gone some different directions. Tyler Boyd would have been big in the conversation. That's someone we haven't talked about. So, we can talk about that.
That is an interesting part about this. We're talking about the Nashville game and everything going on. And again, the LA Galaxy coming up, 12:10 p.m. we expect is the kickoff. MLS Season Pass coming up on Sunday. This is LA Galaxy at Nashville. Nashville, just 2 draws so far. They drew to New York at home, the New York Red Bulls at home, 0-0. And then they went to Colorado and were losing 1-0 in the 90th minute whenever Teal Bunbury converted the penalty kick. And that ended up getting their other point there. So tie 1-1. Those were their 2 games in the league, and that's where they have sort of stood as of right now. We look at sort of the stats that are coming up. The LA Galaxy so far in 2 games have 23 shots. Nashville in 2 games have 6 shots. Shots on goal 3, shots on goal 9 for the LA Galaxy. So 66% more goals there for the LA Galaxy. Just total passes have been a lot less. Nashville's holding a lot more possession. Passing accuracy would go to the Galaxy at almost 83%. Nashville at 79%. Just looking at little things here. I still can't believe they have a red card up there. Like, doesn't the red card go away whenever they're like, oh yeah, well, you have one yellow card and one red card. Well, that one.
Oh, it was rescinded. Yeah, it should be rescinded from the record.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, as a USC fan, I should say. I know a lot about things being rescinded.
Reggie Bush got his Heisman taken away. You got to take Mark Delgado's second yellow out. Anyway,
I was going to say free OJ, but that's a whole different conversation.
Okay, that's
all right. Going to get in big trouble.
That's way different. No, so we look at this. Let's talk about Tyler Boyd, though. Former LA Galaxy player, only played with them obviously last year. This is one of those things that you sort of sit there and say, well, of course he's going to score in the LA Galaxy. They usually do. I imagine he's going to be up for it. Watching this game against Miami, I'll say that he was a lot more quiet than I expected him to be. Whether or not that's just because he was able to play off of Schaffelberg, who was sort of having his little game. Let Schaffelberg cook whenever he's cooking. Just stay out of the way, right?
But Boyd was in the mix. He was around. He was causing problems in the first half from what I was watching. Listen, I don't think there's bad blood between Tyler Boyd and the LA Galaxy. I really don't. Tyler Boyd bet on himself and won, right? That was what comes in on a 1-year contract, basically says, I'm going to play for 1 year, and then we'll let the chips fall where they are because I'm going to be so good that people are going to offer me a lot of money. And it seems that that's what happened with Nashville. They offered him a lot of money. Nashville's the type of team that's not going to maybe have 3 designated players, right? Nashville's the type of team that's not going to have all their international spots filled, right? I mean, that's sort of the type of team. Gary Smith and Nashville, very pragmatic, usually defensively smart. We haven't even talked about Walker Zimmerman, who I saw was down at one point in this game, but I think he was okay and continued. So Walker Zimmerman in this as well. They're defense first and then exploiting from that, right? You get Hani Mukhtar, who's great on the counter. You get Teal Bunbury, who's a guy who's going to be great on the counter. That's them. They like to counter. So the fact that they've had so much possession early probably shows you that they're not really playing their game yet and that their offense hasn't started. But Tyler Boyd could get that offense going at any point. Yeah, well, there might not be bad blood between Tyler Boyd and the Galaxy. I still think that he's going to want to have something to prove. The greatest kind of point that I've seen floating around is, Big Bad Boyd last season. Whenever they played LAFC, he showed up in those big moments for whatever it is. He has that knack, that X-dog, whatever you want to call it, that when you need a clutch performance, he's going to do it. So I think there's something about playing against your old club, fair or foul, whether it was mutual or not mutual. There's going to be some part of him that's, wishes they would have, maybe offered him a little bit more so he didn't have to move or didn't need to switch teams. He's going to want to stick it to the LA Galaxy. So that does make me a little bit nervous, especially when you see him today. He had the tucked in jersey. So I don't know if the Ricky influence is rubbing off on Tyler Boyd. So maybe he comes, fully tucked, go for a Boyd banger.
That's outside. Coming back.
That makes me a little bit nervous. Boyd, especially given Preston Judd scored, last week with San Jose, Boyd coming up this week, whatever this parade cavalcade of former Galaxy players that likes to come and score on us. That's the one player that makes me super nervous. And that's on top of Hani Mukhtar, as a league MVP, a Golden Boot. He's always in that conversation. Walker Zimmerman's always in there. Anibal Godoy, he's a guy who, played for San Jose, played for LAFC. He's just always been kind of that, a thorn in the side type guy. So that's another guy that I would worry about as well. So again, this is not an easy team, but I think we're going to see what the Galaxy are made of because our eye test is showing us that this is a good team and there's, this Galaxy team could cause some damage. So we're going to see if they can actually, when they play against another decent team on the road, what that means and what's that going to look like.
Yeah. By the way, just looking at it and listen, the Nashville defense, I think has been an established and better than the LA Galaxy for years. Gary Smith is very much a defensive guy and likes to play inside of a defensive system that then breaks out. Similar to sort of how Greg Vanney does. I would say there's usually a little more, little more purpose with the possession, with what Greg Vanney's system is supposed to be. Gary Smith usually doesn't like to have the possession, even though they have. Again, it sort of indicates that they haven't been playing the way that maybe they like to. Joe Willis back there in goal is outstanding. He's a very good goalkeeper. So
he's a top half of the league keeper.
Yeah. And so you see all that stuff. You can continue there. So Nashville's not going to be a pushover. It's absolutely a difficult game, and one that you have to continue to sort of pay attention to. Let's get to some super chats here. Gary, get $2 super chat. Rad show. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, Gary. Thank you. Patrick, $10 super chat. Thank you, Patrick. COG continuing to rule. Thank you for that,
Gary and Patrick. They're in the COG, wall of destiny or whatever we want to call it. Like they're in there. They're always in the mix.
The circle, the ring of honor.
Ring of honor. That's what
it was.
I don't know. Circle of destiny sounds like it could be something though. I'm gonna write that down. Wall of destiny. Yeah, we're gonna make it work.
Philip, $2 super chat. Boy, gonna score and give us the see you. Was that good? Was that bad?
No, it was not.
That was not good?
I'm not going to correct you.
That wasn't good?
I'm going to let you stick with it. Yeah.
I thought that was really good.
We know that the animals are going to come in for chow time after that.
That's what I figured. That's why I figured he's making a pig call. I don't know why, but hey, whatever. I would like to say that I felt very old today. I was on a Discord, not a soccer-related Discord, by the way, a different Discord, and there are some younger fellas on that particular Discord, and they were like, man, that thing is so coded. And I'm like, I have no idea what that means. Like, they hit me with the Urban Dictionary. Like, they're like, here's the link, old man. Like, figure it out. And I'm just like, okay, cool. This is how it starts. I understand now. I get it. It's not that my parents didn't know what. It's just you're not there. You're not talking that language. You're not. Yeah. I used to be. I used to be all the stuff. I knew all the things. I was hip to the 411 and all that good stuff. Yeah.
That's where being an educator and working with younger kids kind of works in your favor, because I'm one, chronically online enough, and two, around youths to kind of hear those things. So coded, I'm familiar with. That's blank coded or something coded. The one thing, and we're going to go on the side tangent here, one of the things that I've seen is a teacher who's gaslighting his students, making up phrases like slang that aren't that's right. The best. He's like, oh, that's feta. It completely fell apart. It crumbled. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I think I've heard, Lil Uzi Vert say that. So I'm pretty sure you're wrong. But that's definitely slang that's out there. So if you look out for something like that, that's a lot of fun. Making up the slang.
Mr. Provino's in here in our chat. I'd love to see Josh pronounce streets in Oahu. How dare you, sir? I grew up in Southern California. All right. I can say some of the Spanish name streets. I just can't say them all. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. There's a lot of vowels in there. You're probably right. I wouldn't be any good at it. Yeah.
I remember driving, on the freeway in Hawaii and seeing the exits. I was like how do people remember which exits which? There's a lot of mix-ups that could possibly happen.
I think Joe Coy has one of those jokes about that, where he was like, yeah, they tell you and they go through all the vowels in the alphabet, and there's like extra ones in there and stuff like that. So but yeah, stop trying to make fetch a thing. That's exactly. I would like to say that I just said that on an LA Galaxy press conference call. You guys didn't hear it because we weren't talking to a player at the time, but I did announce stop trying to make fetch happen. All right, it was in response to something. I'm still there. I can still have it. I'm kind of gonna. They really. So now they're just throwing things in there for me to say. I'm not going to say anything more. All right, because I don't want to say them. But
do you want D ratings?
Yeah, we can do D ratings. How about this? There you go.
There it is.
D ratings.
There it is.
See, look at that. See, I'm prepared. I know how to do shows. Done.
You knew where this was going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right there, as you can see it. We might believe in the LA Galaxy, but D ratings in Vegas does not believe. Yeah. So they're Nashville with a 50.7% chance to win. The Galaxy with only a 23.7% chance to win. Again, the projected goals, 0.97 for the Galaxy, 1.54 for Nashville. So again, a little bit tricky. The Vegas is not favoring them. If you look at the money line right now, you can get the Galaxy at plus 220. Nashville at plus 115. So again, if you're feeling like the Galaxy are doing well, plus 220 can make you some decent money there. Over under, again, I like when the over under has a half in it. The over under is at 2.5. So again, if you want to go under, that's minus 130. If you want to go over, that's plus 110. So again, they're figuring that it's going to go under. But if you think this is going to be a goal fest, think it's going to be Schaffelberg and Boyd against Jovic and Paintstil, setting the goals on fire here. Maybe you slam the over there and you make some money on that. So I think it's some interesting scenarios. As heavy as that percentage is, the 50% in Nashville's favor, I think the fact that the over under being at 2.5 and some of those possibilities with the goal options, I think that's something that there's going to be maybe more goals than what's projected in that phase there. What's that? Did I miss something in the chat?
Yeah.
Because I was going hard on D ratings.
You were way into D ratings, and I was not paying any attention to anything. Just the they're basically trying to like compare me to like the reverse mortgage guy. They're like, can you say diabetes like the guy in the old, like, if you've got the diabetes, right?
Wilford Brimley. I'm that old. So that's what I was going to. Speaking of being that old, the funny thing, speaking of G's on film and the things that are going to be on display at the 1-2 Threads Absolution pop-up and all the photography there, funny thing that happened as they handed the disposable cameras out to fans to kind of capture the moments throughout the game, and then they were going to collect them at the end. They were handing me the disposable camera, and they said, "Well, see, you push this button."
You're like, "Don't you?"
I was like, "Man,
come on.
I'm old enough. I lived through the like. You don't have to give me the instructions. I know exactly how this works. I know how this is going to do." I imagine when they were giving them to people, they needed to give them, the little mini training on how to use it. But I had to stop them right there in their tracks. You don't need to go any further. See these gray hairs? See this salt and pepper right here? I know how to use a disposable camera.
The train club is a bunch of old guys, right? For the most part. I'm fairly young there, so the whole deal. But one of them was like, "Oh, we used to have videos of this one meet, the whole deal." And they were trying to talk about it, and they were like, "Yeah." They're like, we could sell DVDs and stuff. I'm like, "No, we couldn't." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like,
"Are you streaming this on the website?"
Like, how would you? No, it doesn't work like that. Like, DVDs are like new technology, right? Like, yeah, the whole thing. All right, let's go. Predictions guaranteed to be wrong. For me, I'll go first this time. You usually get to go first. I'll go first this time. I am going to say that this is a draw. It's a draw all day. It's a draw all day long. You can't sit there and tell me it's anything more than a draw. I don't think it's going to be a 2-2 draw, though. I feel like it's a 1-1 draw. I feel like it's going to be a defensive sort of battle. The one goal gets scored by Jovalic. Tap in, of course.
Fair.
Of course. Now, can I see an alternate universe? Did you? Okay. Let
me go.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to go because I hate when we do this. I also had a 1-1 draw written down in my notes because this feels like it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Boyd's going to get one, and I'm with you. I think Jovalic can get one as well. So we'll say that plays out, but we're going to go Miami plus 7 minutes of injury time, and then Joseph Paintsil is going to get that 90 plus 6 goal, and the Galaxy win 2-1. I'm changing my prediction. I think they do. I do think they steal the win. They're capable of stealing the win. Nashville's worried about the second leg. I think they catch them slipping towards the end.
Gonna have to shut down Schaffelberg, the monster that has been created.
GOAT,
the greatest of all time. Absolutely. Yeah, I love everybody's like, Gary says, I remember when I was a kid, we had a combination DVD VCR. That thing was rad, right? he says you could see Dante's peak. You could see Dante's peak and then pop in the Spider-Man DVD after. It was like, what do you got? Throw it in there, right?
Yeah. Remember when we used to watch all the DVD extras?
Oh,
that was a whole second DVD with just people talking over it.
I remember the laser discs, that were like this big, and like you would drop them in. Like that was the big thing at school. They had laser discs. Look at these laser discs, and they're like these giant discs, right?
Oh, we are so old. Yeah, I used to go to the Cal State Fullerton Library, rent a laser disc in a room when I had a big break between class. Terminator 2 on laser disc while you waited for your next class. What a time to be alive.
When I was a kid, we didn't have remotes. Thank you for that, Pottermus. Always appreciate it. Here's one thing. Let's go back to the cinematic sort of game reviews and everything that you've sort of been seeing. You saw Greg Vanney in the locker room. You saw them talking at halftime.
Oh, yeah.
Similar to what I said, which, by the way, it's not genius to say that, but I would like, at least whenever I get something right, I point it out, is that you have to think coming out of the half, you get another goal and they're done. Right? That was 2-0, score the third goal. You heard Maya Yoshida say it, right? And then you heard Greg Vanney say it. And this is where the Paintsil quote is coming from, right? And you didn't know where it was coming from because he was like, we're going to kill a lot of teams. After the game, we're going to kill a lot of teams. And he was like, we're going to take them out. And it wasn't meant to be like, we're not going to murder people, like that type of thing. This was meant to be like, we're going to take teams out in games early if we continue to play like this. That was sort of the thing. Greg Vanney said it very simply, he goes, the next goal kills them. The next goal kills them, right? And he said it with more colorful language, which I can so appreciate.
Those were my takeaways after watching that video. And I think that seems to be the overarching theme based on what Paintsill said in that quote, based on what Vanny said at halftime there. And you're right. I don't think anyone took it as like a murder thing, but it is, I'm taking your hopes and dreams and I'm killing them. I'm smothering any hope you had. I'm just choking all the life out of it. Again, I'm saying that it's not a murder thing, and I'm sitting there describing that. But anyway, I think that can be the theme for the season. Is we're gonna kill you. Like we are just gonna take whatever you feel is gonna happen. We're just gonna kill it. And Yoshida, to me, I saw the captain. I get it when I saw him doing it. Levels up, one more, and they're done. One more, and he kept saying levels up. Like that. Those little comments from Yoshida, having that in the locker room. Vanny saying one more game kills them. I think this team, the killer LA Galaxy, that could be the overarching theme. That could be something that we circle back to. The Galaxy are going to kill other teams and kill momentum, kill hopes. I think that's something that we can keep as an overarching theme. Again, 2 games. Let's not get too excited yet, but I definitely think that if they're setting that foundation and they have that, you hear it all the time, the killer mentality, the Mamba mentality. Kobe Bryant, was famous for that. Kobe Bryant was a killer in that way. Like he had that mentality that he was out there to ruin your day. And so I think if that's the attitude that this Galaxy team has and they adopt that identity, makes me excited.
You can see that. I think that the idea that this Galaxy team has let people off the hook so many times, right? Like if you go back through all of the games last year, the games before, it's be in a winning position and get a draw, not be able to come back and not be able to take teams out of their game. That's what you want to see. The LA Galaxy that can go and score 2 goals on San Jose in the first half and then decide they're not done, get the third. Because when that third goal went in, what happened? Everybody knew the game was over. San Jose knew it. The Galaxy knew it. Fans watched it. You were still going to get nervous because you knew that you were like, oh man, I don't know. But
one more was going to come back. Yeah. For that third goal killed it.
And that's what you want to see. So a really interesting game coming up, obviously 12-10 on Sunday. Sunday game, 3 games on Sunday. The LA Galaxy will be one of those. I think Cincinnati and I forget who they were playing also kick off at the exact same time. Do I have it over here? I think I have it over here. Nashville. No, this is a different one. Did I have it this one? No, that was Nashville's thing. Yep. Did I have it this one?
Left eye or right eye?
No, not that one. No, that was the same one.
Number 3 or number 4? 1
or 2. 1 or 2. Is now 2 or 3. 2 or 3.
Let's go back to 1. 1 or 4?
1, 4.
Thank you. Now, everyone has a new eye exam.
Now 5.
We'll your new prescription here.
5 or 6. 5 or 6. 5
Good time.
Or 6.
Completely off the rails. The chat's off the rails. We're off the rails.
It's all good. All right.
Okay, Kevin Ryder's going to call in now. Now's the time.
Yeah, no. So we'll try to hook back up with Kevin.
Yeah.
So
tag him. Let him know he was wanted. We want him out here.
We miss him. We were trying. He's a white whale. We want him. Yeah, we want him. Yes. I mean that as somebody who we're trying to get like as a white whale. I don't know if people.
We get it.
Do people get that? I don't know. Sometimes.
Are we that old?
That's a Moby Dick reference, by the way. Just in case, again, some of you don't know, and
is that Gen Z slang.
Yeah, probably.
This game
coded.
was Moby Dick, man.
It's coded.
It was Moby Dick coded.
Moby Dick is so coded. Yeah. I have no idea what we were just saying anymore.
All right. I don't know what it means. It was fell apart there at the end.
Oh, we so need to go. Anything else you want to get to, or are we done? We're done.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Shout out to Kevin Ryder anyway.
Yeah.
Kevin
and Bean, man. That was. I studied. All right, Kevin. I just want you to know. We'll get him back on the show sooner rather than later. All right. Mr. Eric Vieira, tell people where they can find you. Let's go.
All right. As always, you can find me on everything at HammerEV9. That's X, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, all the things at HammerEV and the number 9.
If you're looking for me on Twitter and X, it's at Jay Guesman, at Galaxy Podcast, cornerofthegalaxy.com, where you can find all of our shows. Head over to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, any of those places. You can find us, Apple Podcasts. We are there. Go download this wonderful theme song by Ray Plaza, who has hit. My son, by the way, requests this in the morning. He goes, Daddy, play Corner of the Galaxy. So you've made me a hero in my own house. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate that. All right, that'll do it. The LA Galaxy facing off against Nashville coming up on Sunday. A little road trip, 12 o'clock on MLS Season Pass. When your TV starts. Again, limited first half coverage for us. Probably get there by the second half. All right. For Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.